This is a video on my Fleetwood Mac CD collection. Up until about 5 years ago, I really wasn't all that familiar with Fleetwood Mac's catalog pre their 1975 self-titled album. I really got into Fleetwood Mac when I was, in my late grade school years. My dad had the Fleetwood Mac album, he had Rumors, and used to listen to them all the time around the house. And then when I started to get into high school, that's when their, Tango in the Night album was out. Some of their videos were on MTV. And so that was really the period that I was most familiar with. And so when streaming services started to become really popular, that enabled me to go and check out some of their earlier albums without having to spring for, all of their albums. And I really was somewhat familiar with, I knew they started out in the late 60s with Peter Green, and I knew there was a period with Bob Welch and Jeremy Spencer and Christine McVie, and there have been various lineup changes and whatnot, but I hadn't actually heard any of the songs. I was vaguely familiar with album titles and some of the artwork I'd see around when I was at various record stores or on the internet. And so once I actually started streaming their albums and listening, I was actually surprised at how much of their early stuff I liked and kind of resonated with me. Their earliest stuff with Peter Green, if you're a fan of early Led Zeppelin, if you like the Yardbirds, if you like the early Rolling Stones, Cream, Jimi Hendrix, I think you'll really identify with the earliest Fleetwood Mac, particularly their late 60s stuff. Their first 3 or 4 albums, I think you'll find a lot of tracks that they cover are going to be very familiar to you. So I'm going to start with Fleetwood Mac's first album. I think this one is just called Peter Green's Fleetwood Mac, and this was from 1968. This is pretty much what the back of the album looked like. These are all on the Blue Horizon label. And the booklet itself, I think I have never seen the actual vinyl album, so I'm presuming that the photos that are in here were contained maybe in a inner sleeve or a gatefold. It's not a very extensive booklet. It's got a photograph of the band there, a little write-up. I guess you could call this as like a remastered or re-released version of this album, just because there is a write-up and there are some alternate takes also on here. Tracks that you might be familiar with might be Hellhound on My Trail, which was an old Robert Johnson tune. And also, what's the other one? Shake Your Moneymaker is also another one. The rest are, pretty, I don't want to say standard because it makes it seem like there's no creativity, but, for the most part, they're just gritty British blues rock tunes, and they're really played very well. They're an excellent ensemble that they have on these first couple of albums. But I think, like I say, if you're a fan of, British blues of the 60s, you'll definitely want to check these out, these early albums out. The next one is called Mr. Wonderful, and yes, that is Mick Fleetwood there, and he's got a doll, and I'm assuming that this album was a gatefold and this was the top. And then what you have on here was the back of the gatefold. It looks like he's got fig leaves or something covering his mid-range area. He's holding it. It's just very strange artwork there, just very bizarre. But this is also on the Blue Horizon label. And this says Stop Messing Around on it, Dust My Broom, which is familiar, I think, to anyone who's a fan of, like I say, the early British blues, or just even, Muddy Waters, Howlin' Wolf, John Lee Hooker, might recognize those tracks. Like the first CD, this one has some bonus tracks. got a little more in the insert here. And then their third album was actually a compilation. It was some singles, some tracks that had been left over from what I understand, stuff that had not been on their first two albums that they compiled onto this one. Their big single, Albatross, which was an instrumental, it actually went to #1 in Great Britain. That is on here, and for Beatles fan, that song was actually the inspiration for Sun King, the track on Abbey Road. If you listen to the two, you'll understand where the inspiration came from. This also has Black Magic Woman, which of course Santana made popular in the late 60s. And Jigsaw Puzzle Blues, which has nothing to do with the Rolling Stones song. And then there's some alternate takes of some of the songs on here. So I have those three albums as standalone CDs, but then I also have this, it's called the Original Album Collection. And so it's the same three albums, but without the alternate takes. And one of the reasons why I picked this up is because the track listing on the Pious Bird of Good Omen, the track listing is different from this one. It has Need Your Love So Bad as the first track, and then on here the second track is Coming Home, and then Rambling Pony is the third track. And then there's a track called The Big Boat, which is also not on here. And I believe My Time Ain't Long is covered on both tracks. The Sun Is Shining is the same. Albatross is on here. Black Magic Woman, Jigsaw Puzzle Blues. And then Looking for Somebody and Stop Messing Around are not on this CD, but they are on the CD that is in this set. So that's the main reason I have it. These are, the CDs in here are replicas, reproductions is maybe a more accurate word, of the actual, the albums. There's not any spine there, but this is on the Sony Music label. It's got the little Columbia eye there on the side. The color on this one is a little more washed out than it is on this CD. I don't know if you can tell, but it almost looks like this is a bootleg copy, which I don't believe it is because I got it on Amazon. But and then for some reason they don't have this back cover. It's just the tracks listed on the back here. This one is also on the Sony Music label. And then the Pious Bird of Good Omen. And like the others, same CD. So, you know, it's... I just really like the tracks that were left off of the standalone CD. And I don't know if the difference is, you know, the British track listing versus what was released in America. I can't account for why there is that difference. The other two CDs in here, the track listings are the same as what's on my other CDs. So, so for the next Fleetwood Mac period, I've got it all covered here, and this is another original album series, and this has the albums, and again, they're also, I don't want to call them replicas because I'm quite sure that's not what the back cover of Then Play On looked like. I think this was a wraparound with a gatefold, but it's in like a paper sleeve here. And this is on the Reprise label. So this is the Then Play On. And this album has Oh Well, It's a track that I believe Foghat made popular, if I'm not mistaken. And Fleetwood Mac also covered it on their live album from, I think it was 1980. And then the next album is Kiln House. The title's not on here anywhere, but that may be what the back cover looked like. So CD, there's no booklet, no extra pictures, or there's nothing else. It's just these CDs in these sleeves here. And then this is Future Games. And Kiln House is after the first album after Peter Green left the band. And Bob Welch. So it's Mick Fleetwood, John McVie, Danny Kerwin, Christine McVie, and Bob Welch. So this is the Bob Welch, Danny Kerwin, Christine McVie era. And all these CD labels have a different color scheme on them. The next one is Bare Trees, and this track contains the Bob Welch composition Sentimental Lady, which he covered on his French Kiss album with Christine McVie on backing vocals. And then the next Fleetwood Mac album was Mystery to Me. And this has the same lineup as the previous albums. This is what it looks like on the back. I was really hoping that these would come in jewel cases, but they did not. But it doesn't matter. It's just nice to have the actual albums on CD. And you can usually get these for a pretty reasonable price, a little cheaper than what you might pay for even a double CD. So they're, you know, it's good value, I think, for the money. This is the standalone CD of Then Play On, and this has a couple of alternate takes and some bonus tracks. This has got a bonus track of the green Monalishi with the two-prong crown. And I think those are the only bonus tracks. This is on the Reprise label also. And this, I think, is what the actual album would have looked like as the gatefold here. And this has got a booklet with some track listing info and some pictures. So I really like Oh Well off of here, and I also really like a track. It's called Although the Sun is Shining. I think they're great. And Coming Your Way is a pretty decent album opener, but that is Then Play On. And then I've got this too. This is a double CD. It's called Before the Beginning, and it's a 3-disc set, and these are all demos, early live tracks, some BBC recordings and whatnot from their very early period, 1968 to 1970. And looks like behind the CD. And then it's got a really thick book with lots of pictures and an essay. So if you really want to take a deep dive into Fleetwood Mac's early years, this might be something you want to pick up. Now we're back into the familiar territory for most people. This is the self-titled Fleetwood Mac album with the classic, I don't know, Mark IV, Mark V, whatever lineup this would be, with Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks joining Christine McVie and John McVie and Mick Fleetwood. This is just the original Warner Brothers release. This has got lyrics here as well. This is a single disc remastered version of Rumors, and it looks so much like the original CD. When I first got this, I was like, oh, this really looks like the original CD. I wonder if they sent me the old one by mistake. But one of the ways you can tell, it's got Warner Records logo here, which is different than what was on the original CD. The inside part of the CD is actually like mirrored, but the booklet looks identical to the one that came with the original CD. But the sound quality is different because I compared them, and this sounds demonstrably better than the original CD does. The next one that I have to show, this is a 3-disc version of Tusk, which was their double album follow-up to the Rumors album. Anytime I've got a digipack like this, what I try to do is keep it in like a sealed cellophane sleeve here, just because one of my biggest gripes about the digipacks is they just start to get very worn around the edges, and you know, they start to look pretty rough, unprotected, and especially when you've got something like this where, you know, it can just flap around. I like to have a little extra layer of protection there. So this is, I don't know, a quadruple fold, gatefold, but the CDs fit into these sleeves here, and then this one, well, actually, yeah, so these 3 here have the CDs, and then this one has the booklet. Which has extensive essay about the making of Tusk, and basically the fact that Lindsey Buckingham was determined that this album was not going to be a Rumors sound-alike. You know, they were going to go in a more adventurous musical direction than just kind of, you know, recycling Rumors and giving the people what they wanted. He was very much into Brian Wilson, particularly the Smile era. He was into the new wave sounds that he was hearing. So he kind of took all these different influences that were around and kind of molded the album in that, in the spirit of those recordings that he was listening to. So that is the booklet, and then I'm just going to show one of the CDs because they all pretty much look the same. And this one, so the first disc is the original album. The second disc contains singles and outtakes from the sessions. There's quite a few takes of I Know I'm Not Wrong. There's several takes of Tusk. There's a single remix of Think About Me, a remix of That's All for Everyone, Sister of the Moon remix, Not That Funny single remix, Sarah, the single edit, Walk a Thin Line, which was an early version of the song, and then a couple of other tracks, and then there's an alternate Tusk on disc 3, which is the same exact track lineup as the original album, but it's all alternate takes, taking the place of the more familiar tracks. So if you like Tusk, I really like Tusk a lot. I know people think, oh, it was a disappointment after their self-titled album and Rumors, but I like it a lot, and I like the fact that, you know, Lindsey Buckingham totally went against all expectations and put out an album that was really uncompromising and would challenge the listeners. like this one did. So it's one of my favorite double albums, and it has grown on me over the years, and I really like it a lot. So the next album that was released, this is Mirage. And this is a very 80s, early 80s sounding Fleetwood Mac. Back to more of a commercial sound. This has got lyrics. And then the disc itself is just a regular Warner Brothers looking disc. This is Tango in the Night, which was kind of their last hurrah for the five, I don't want to call them original members, but the classic lineup. This had Big Love, Little Lies, Everywhere were the big hits. And this has lyrics for all the songs. And no additional pictures. This is the first Fleetwood Mac's greatest hits, although it's really just their classic lineup period. There's not anything prior to the self-titled album on here. That's what the CD looks like, and on the inside of booklet, there's not really a whole lot. Some credits. This picture. And then just pretty much it is, kind of a little write-up and some credits here, but nothing too extensive. This is The Dance, which was sort of in the format, I guess, of the Unplugged. There are some newer songs on here that wouldn't be familiar to Fleetwood Mac fans. Silver Springs was an outtake. They re-recorded that outtake from the Rumor sessions, but for the most part, these are unplugged covers of familiar Fleetwood Mac tunes. And probably the most exciting part of this disc is them performing Tusk with a full marching band, which is very cool. And then the last Fleetwood Mac CD that I have, this is a double disc set. It's the very best of Fleetwood Mac. Comes in this sleeve here. And this again is just, for the most part, the classic Fleetwood Mac period. It's interesting, they've got Lindsey Buckingham's Go Insane on here, which I really like a lot. But it's a really good 2-disc set. If you are most familiar with Fleetwood Mac from that Rumors period, I think you'll like this compilation a lot. And this is going to have everything that you would possibly want or need from Fleetwood Mac if you don't want to explore any of their real earlier stuff. So, and kind of a band picture there. So that is my Fleetwood Mac collection, and it continues to grow. I'm not finished collecting Fleetwood Mac. I still want to get the Say You Will album and maybe some other stuff here and there. But anyway, video's gone a little bit long, but anyway, let me know your thoughts, comments, what era of Fleetwood Mac is your favorite, and everybody take care.